Hi everybody, this is Noelle from Petitti Garden Centers, and we're here at our Oakwood Village location. And guess what? This is our what's in store for Midsummer. We're gonna kind of kick it off in the perennial area because again, everything with the heat of summer, oh my gosh, everything is just really bursting and blooming so well. And of course, it's time for coneflowers. And you may know them as echinacea, but the coneflower family is humongous. There are so many lovely, gorgeous varieties. So we're looking at a few here. We kind of threw some in so you could see all the different colors and flowers. A new one for us this year is part of the Double Scoop series. This is called Strawberry Deluxe. It is a doubled flowering type. If you are looking for different types of cut flowers and that type of thing, the double cone flowers are very pretty. If you're looking to attract pollinators in the garden, these aren't the varieties necessarily that you want. You're gonna want single flowering types that produce that nice seed cone. These are the ones that are going to be more attractive to your pollinators, but also to your finches and your seed feeder birds because they love the seed right there. With all of these coneflowers, just remember, they are plants that like to grow in prairie type conditions. So they don't really like to be in wet clayey soil. Make sure that you're amending your soil, making sure it's well drained. It's in a nice raised area, so all of that moisture is draining away. They don't necessarily need rich soil, don't get me wrong, so they don't need a ton of fertilizer. Feeding them twice a season, once in the spring and once midsummer, which we're here, we're coming up on it, is really good. And that's about it. Make sure with these newer coneflowers that you're deadheading. So you're removing those blooms or spent blooms or using them for cut flower, of course, before that happens when they fade. And they'll continue to produce because most of these coneflowers now have abundant side shoots to them and side nodes that are developing into flowers. So as long as you keep on cutting back, they're gonna keep on producing and staying real vigorous and viable for you. The one that I was touching here, this single variety that's coral colored is called Flamenco, which is really pretty. This is a newer variety for us. This one's called Vintage Lime. Again, nice rounded single flowering. Well, you've got almost doubled petals here down below, but not in the cone. So as long as the cone is just that seed head, that's great for your pollinators and your birds, of course. Beautiful pink and green rings around there. I've got an orange here. That's part of the Flamenco series too. And I might have gotten this wrong. I think the coral is part of the Tres Amigos, which you get 3 different colors on that coneflower. So it's really, really, really cool. Among the coneflowers, of course, we have our lovely Verbena bonariensis. This is Lollipop. Lollipop's a little bit shorter than some of the other varieties. Just remember, Verbena bonariensis is not quite a root hardy perennial. It is a self-seeder. So you want to make sure that you're letting this plant go to seed, letting it drop some seed. And we're talking in September now, so you can continue to cut it and use it and really enjoy it in the garden. But when we get to that fall time, early fall, we want some of those flowers to go to seed and drop. You might get some return from the root system, but this one especially, we like the seed to drop to make sure that we do get some growth in the next season. More coneflowers here. We've got Yellow Ombre. This is part of the Artisan series, and we love the Artisan series as far as growing it. It is a early bloomer. It's gangbusters as far as there's a bee just kind of sleeping there. But it is doing a great job, and boy, they're just super, super vigorous. So again, your coneflowers are not like what they were in the past, and they'll continue to grow for you. Right around this Yellow Ombre is the Stokes Aster. So Stokes Asters are earlier blooming than your typical hardy asters. and you'll see the larger flowers on Stokes asters. They have more of a compact habit than most of your hardy asters out there, but still beautiful. Typically in the blues and purple ranges. There's some silver out there too, but this is Peachy's Pick. And Peachy's Pick, I'm going to tell you, that silvery blue, little bit of purple on the inside, but boy, it's loaded with buds and it just keeps on going. It's a really, really great bloomer. I should mention with your midsummer bloomers, really when you're planting any plants that have been grown in containers, they can be planted anytime during the growing season, especially midsummer too. The only thing that you really need to watch out for is with establishment, you've got to be very careful with your irrigation. I shouldn't say careful, probably more diligent with your irrigation. Of course, at the time of planting, we always like to have a root stimulator type fertilizer like Biotone in the hole when you go to plant that plant, and then water well after you plant, mulch around, and make sure that you do that 1 to 2 inches of mulch around the plant, not up against the crown, but just around, so we're keeping weeds out, moisture in. And then watch your watering, and I say it a lot, but we always look at 1 inch of water 1 time per week, slow, deep watering, okay? That's always key to make those root systems go down and establish themselves. And you've got to watch that through the growing season. So just be aware. Look at all the bees are waking up. I've got honeybees, bumblebees, everything over here on these coneflowers. So, you know, they will attract the pollinators, especially those single cone types. Okay, cool beans. And then back here, look at this. This is one of our hardy ground covers. This is Plumbago, Ceratostigma, and it is a beautiful hardy ground cover. It does grow up about 8 to 10 inches. Beautiful bright electric blue flowers here. When it's done blooming, these bracts will turn red. The foliage will turn red as well. This plant can grow in very, very tough conditions, mostly full sun to part shade, and really does a nice job along with many of these sun tolerant plants like the coneflower, like the Stokes aster, like the verbena. So do look for those. More mid-season color, beautiful crocosmia. Oh my gosh, this is Lucifer. So this is your bright red tubular crocosmia. It is still blooming here. We've had some side shoots that bloom. And this plant in general is really neat because as the flowers come up, the lower shoots actually bloom pretty quickly, and the top spike will come out and bloom a little bit later. So it's really neat how it kind of in succession how it blooms, but beautiful plant. Obviously that foliage is great if you need that upright lance-shaped foliage, kind of like grasses, but wonderful for the hummingbirds. If you want the hummingbirds to come to the garden, this is an excellent, excellent plant to grow. It does have a bulbous type root system. So you're going to find as you plant this or as you work with this plant that there are, you know, bulbs down in the base there. So just make sure that those are covered. They do like to be planted, not super deep, but they do like to be planted, usually a couple inches, maybe 2 to 4 inches in the soil. It's coupled with a beautiful coral bell. This is Peachy Keen, no, not Peachy Keen. Oh, Peach Flambe. Gosh, I get all those peachy ones mixed up. So Peach Flambe is here. More of that Strawberry Deluxe coneflower here. Wow, aren't you loud today? You guys just heard that. But the catmint as well. So really good companion plants here as far as coneflower, catmint. This is a Persian blue catmint. And then we do have some of the perennial mums. This is the Mammoth series again. So this is the coral color with that beautiful daisy flower and the pink here. And they look great as well. They're really coming out. Now, you may have heard 4th of July, you pinch your mums, your buddleia, your sedum, and all those types of things. So if you wanted to delay some blooming here, you could do that. And you literally could pinch some of these flowers and delay a little bit of blooming if I could do it, but my fingernails aren't working. So I'm gonna get my clippers out, right? And go ahead and just pinch if you want to. Now, This guy is all budded up and really, really looking nice. If I wanted to delay it for a couple months, I could totally do that. I want to tell you, with the Mammoth series, they are really long blooming perennial type chrysanthemums. So enjoy them. They'll open up, they'll continue to produce buds and blooms for you. I've had mine bloom in my garden probably close to 10 to 12 weeks. So I've got 3 months of blooming here on these plants. So do look for these. They're wonderful, root hardy, really, really nice. Non-traditional because they're the daisy type mums, but still beautiful colors, really, really pretty. And then I wanted to show you the same thing. This is Sedum Autumn Joy. You can tell it's all green. We're earlier in July taping this video, and so I wanted to show you that you really can, around the 4th of July, you can go through and disbud these plants. And so if you're taking a bud like this, it's an immature bud, and I can go down maybe a couple inches, a few nodes, and I can actually remove all of those flowers, okay? And this will really actually make this plant branch more, but it will also push it to much later flowering, when maybe you would want your sedum to flower a little bit later in the season. So that's an idea that you can do at home, no problem, is go through and disbud all of those stems, and you'll push the plant to produce more growth. Obviously it'll be later, but it'll also be more branching and a little bit more compact. And sometimes with Sedum Autumn Joy, they get real floppy in the landscape because they get a little bit too tall. And so this helps with that. It'll reduce that floppiness. It will also give you later flowering. So something to think about. We're sneaking by the liatris, or gay feather, sometimes it's known as, and typically comes in the whites and also the violet purple colors. But if you want an easy to grow pollinator plant, this is an awesome plant for your garden. Full sun conditions, because we're in the sun right now, they really enjoy that. They can tolerate some clay soil. We still want you to amend it 50-50. But my gosh, there's so many pollinators on these flowers right now, the white and also the purple. This is Floristan White. You've got probably 36 inches of height on this plant. As it fills up, it is a clump forming plant, so you probably get close to about 18 to 24 inches of width as that plant matures. Back here I have Floristan Purple, and I also have Liatris spicata, which is also a native, true native, straight species. So something to look forward to in the garden. They're not those little tiny, mounded catmints. They are definitely, very, very spiky. They give you a really cool texture with this ferny foliage, but really great pollinator plant if you're looking for that. Cute little perennial that you can always try midsummer, and they're great for this time of year. These are your balloon flowers, or platycodon. I've got short varieties, some can be tall, but right now I have the shorties. Astra White, Sentimental Blue, gorgeous, big flowers, lots of personality, but this is a great one to grow in the sun, and fairly deer resistant, bunny resistant, because they have milky sap, so keep that in mind. I'm standing by lobelia. This is the perennial lobelia, so it's going to be upright and tall. Cardinal flower lobelia is typically a darker foliage, red flower, really great for hummingbirds. This is Fan Burgundy, and then also the blue here. And Taylor can take a close-up of the flower, but I'm going to tell you that they have these really, really long throats, and that's what those hummingbirds are looking for, to get that deeply hidden nectar down there. So these are great plants for sunny areas to part shade, also wetter areas. So if you have an area that's staying a little bit more moist because of clay soils and that type of thing, or compaction or what have you, guess what? Lobelia will work for you. I wanted to show you this perennial. This is actually perennial plant of the year. This is a garden phlox, or tall phlox variety. It's called Gina, or Gianna. I'm not sure. J-E-A-N-A, Gianna. Anyway, but look at this beauty. And garden phlox, if you've grown garden phlox, They can get some powdery mildew issues. They can get some leaf spot. Gianna is clean, gorgeous green foliage, clustered blooms, fragrant, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. There are, and they're too tiny to see, but there are little sweat bees around this plant right now. It is a tall phlox, don't get me wrong. It's not going to be short in the garden. This is a 4 to 5 footer in the garden. So middle of the border, maybe even towards the back of the border, but beautiful and clean as can be. Now, some of the other garden phlox that are displayed around, they're doing okay. Some of them are looking okay, and some are not. So just keep this one in mind if you're looking for something a little bit taller, beautiful kind of pinky violet color, really, really gorgeous. And then couple this with your black-eyed Susan. So Rudbeckia are out, they're ready to go, really doing a beautiful job. This is an award winner. This is American Gold Rush. It is kind of a more compact variety, if you will, smaller flower, smaller foliage, kind of has that lance leaf foliage instead of the big ovate foliage that you'll see in just a second, but beautiful, nice and clean, doesn't get the black spots that some of the other Rudbeckia do, but really, really great. So if you're looking for a really pretty, vigorous black-eyed Susan, it seems like all of them are, right? To couple with maybe Gianna, gorgeous, really, really pretty. And then moving on, you'll see the difference here. So you've got American Gold Rush, which is a little bit more compact, has a little bit smaller foliage, and then we move to Gold Blitz. So Gold Blitz is a newer variety, a little bit larger flower, obviously larger foliage. Bonus with all of these guys is the foliage is fairly fuzzy, fairly rough, so that's good. That helps with the deer resistance out there. Make sure if you have fawns in the area, make sure that you are protecting these guys, because fawns will come over and damage them no problem as they're taste testing different plants. Usually mature deer will not do that, okay, with the black-eyed Susan, but do protect them, either spray, net, what have you, fence, so you can take care of them. But Gold Blitz is a really great variety, and obviously a little bit taller. So we're talking about closer to probably 3 foot on these flowers versus American Gold Rush. So look for these. Gold Blitz looks very, very similar to the old standard, which is Gold Sturm, okay? Again, extremely hardy plant, award winner from the 90s, all wonderful. So just depending on what you'd prefer the look of your black-eyed Susans to look like, or Rudbeckia, it just depends on what you're looking for, size and width and so forth. Very, very dependable plant, so look for that. Also, the Dakota series of black-eyed Susans are lovely this season. They're Rudbeckia hirta. They're a little bit different as far as their habit and their growth. Very, very showy flowers, different colors, sometimes rings around the center, and those will be very nice to grow in the garden too. Always let a few flowers stay up and go to seed, because ultimately with Rudbeckia hirta, we'd like those seeds to drop around, give us a little insurance again in September, where we might have some new seedlings growing and hopefully getting that Rudbeckia hirta root system to come back and grow for us as well. We're out in the nursery and wanted to show you some other midsummer bloomers that you'll see commonly. This is a newer buddleia for us, our butterfly bush. It's called Dapper Lavender, and it's part of the Bloomable series. And I just love the way how compact it is. And to me, that meant our growers out in the nursery were either cutting it back, which you can do with buddleia, just like I mentioned earlier with the sedum and also the mums. Right around the 4th of July, if you do cut back buddleia or disbud buddleia, again, you can get it to kind of condense its energy, get it to branch, and also delay its blooming a little bit. Just depends on what you want out in the garden. And I have tried half the plant disbudding before and the other half letting it go, so you can kind of see what happens on the same plant. And it's kind of a cool experiment out there. But this variety is absolutely gorgeous, super full. It's a 3x4, so 3 foot to 4 foot by 3 foot to 4 foot, so tall and wide, but really, really beautiful. And it is loaded. I mean, every tip has a bud on it, and also side shoots. So this might be a really great variety if you are looking to have just a nice compact buddleia out there to really bring in the pollinators. For midsummer, if you're looking for a easy care shrub, try Durvilla. Durvilla is also known as summer forsythia. It has yellow flowers. This variety is called butterfly. Flower panicles are really, really large and full. There's pollinators on this plant, red stems, beautiful green foliage. These plants can go in dry, shady conditions. They can also take moist, sunny conditions, so you can put them just about anywhere, but they will do a nice job for you. We've talked about other Durvilla, like the Kodiak series, red, orange, black. So it's a good plant. It's a native plant, easy to grow. Obviously, you get some good color for midsummer. Look at over here. This is a viburnum, okay? This one's called Steady Eddie. This is a double file viburnum, but it's a miniature or dwarf, okay? 4 foot tall, really, is how big this plant is gonna get. But Steady Eddie has not stopped blooming since it started in the spring. So this plant really has some really nice flower power. With double file viburnums, they do have kind of like that lace cap hydrangea look to them, where they have the large petaled flowers on the outside, but they have the true flowers on the inside, so it gives that starry look. But that means that the pollinators love them too. So this one can grow in full sun to part shade as well and do great for you. Panicle hydrangeas are in bloom. Again, midsummer, great hydrangea. And again, that's gonna be the hydrangea that is going to be more tolerant of sun, heat. Out of all the hydrangeas, that's the one that you want if you have very sunny, drier areas. Don't get me wrong, they still appreciate a good thorough watering, but they will tolerate those warmer, drier conditions. And the trees are part of that family. It's basically a panicle hydrangea on top of a standard trunk, and they'll fill out for you. And the ones here that I'm standing by, and look at the butterfly on this one. This is quick fire. How you know quick fire is that the panicle blooms aren't quite pointed. They're more rounded on top. And again, they have more of that lace cap type look, where you have the false flowers or petals, large flowers on the outside, and you have the true non-sterile flowers on the inside, so viable flowers on the inside. Pollinators love that. So these trees right now here, we've got butterflies, we've got all different kinds of bees on there too. So if, again, you're looking for pollinator attractants, go for your panicle hydrangeas that have that lacy look to them. Pinky Winky is like that. Quick Fire is like that as well. 2 panicles, nice short varieties. This is Bobo. This is Angela's favorite, hands down favorite. Beautiful, compact flowering, gorgeous blooms, and it's loaded with buds and starting to really open up and flower. When it starts, it has sort of that light pastel limey green color. It will come out to a beautiful white, change to a cream, gets a little slight blush on it. Really, really gorgeous. This one, a little bit more compact, you can tell just from the foliage and the flowering stem. This is Little Lime Punch. So you've got, again, that nice pastel green color. You're gonna see it fill out. It's going to turn all different colors of cream and berry. So it's really, really cool having all those different colors and shades on one plant. And you can tell some flowers are more mature than others. So you'll see it kind of produce in stages, and that's where you get all the different colors on one compact plant. They're both awesome for those sunny midsummer landscapes. And for midsummer color, try some of your annuals. And you're gonna see these plants really doing well throughout the season. Rager begonias, all different colors for the shade. I have barely had to deadhead or touch my Ragers to this point in July. And they came out to the garden right around Memorial Day, actually just before Memorial Day. So they were looking lovely, and they'll do such a wonderful job. They can take those drier conditions as well in the shade. So keep that in mind. Begonias don't like to be wet. They don't like to have that wet feet. They like to have drier soil conditions, but they'll keep on producing and looking really nice for you. For other summer color for the sun, I wanted to show you as we came over this way. You're gonna see plants like pentas. Pentas definitely can take the heat and a little bit drier conditions. Don't get me wrong, if they get too dry, they'll start to get crispy edges and so forth. You'll notice pretty quickly, but this is a great pollinator plant as well. Butterflies absolutely love pentas in different colors, usually the pinks, the reds, the whites, and the purples. So look for those. Those will do wonderful in heat and sun. Sun patience, a great option, still blooming wonderfully, and they should. You can grow them in the sun or in the shade. It does not matter what sun condition you place them in. Just make sure with sun patience, they're not so great with drought conditions. They definitely like their moisture, their irrigation, so keep them watered. But other than that, they will continue to bloom and bud and keep on growing up and out for you to fill in an area. So they'll do really, really nice with heat, provided that you are watering. Lantana is another one of our favorites that you'll always see for the summer. Really, the heat kind of makes them bloom even better. So the lantana in all different colors, pinks and whites and yellows and oranges. This is always gonna be a pollinator favorite. It's fragrant, it's fairly deer resistant. So do try lantana if you're looking for something that can beat the heat. Probably one of our most faves is flowering vinca for summer. We actually don't bring this crop into the greenhouses too early in May because it does horribly in cooler weather. But when the heat comes on, no problem. Flowering vinca can really fill in an area. It is meant for full sun conditions. You can put it in part shade. It might stretch a little bit for you, but as far as heat and sun and a little bit of drought, these plants can take it. And so look at all of your different colors. We saw a sphinx moth, he's over here. The hummingbird moth over here just getting some drinks of nectar as he moves through these plants. And these are wonderfully deer and bunny resistant. So do check your flowering vinca out. Believe it or not, folks, we are by fall mums. Can't believe it. They are real tight and compact right now. They aren't blooming, and really, I'm just seeing a touch of a bud. They're like almost like a head of a pin right now. So they're really tiny. But here's the thing, if you want to get them established and get good root establishment, plant them as soon as you find them. So we've got some orange varieties, some white, some yellow varieties at the garden center right now, and enjoy.